Brought to you by WikiVD Documentaries. Lost TV series.
Lost is an American television drama series that originally aired on the American Broadcasting Company from September 22, 2004 to May 23, 2010, over 6 seasons, comprising a total of 121 episodes. Lost is a drama series containing elements of science fiction and the supernatural. It follows the survivors of the crash of a commercial passenger jet flying between Sydney and Los Angeles on a mysterious tropical island somewhere in the South Pacific Ocean.
The story is told in a heavily serialized manner. Episodes typically feature a primary storyline set on the island, augmented by flashback or flash-forward sequences which provide additional insight into the involved character. Lost was created by Jeffrey Lieber, J.J. Abrams and Damon Lindelof, who share story writing credits for the pilot episode, which Abrams directed.
Throughout the show's run, Lindelof and Carlton Cuse served as showrunners and head writers, working together with a large number of other executive producers and writers. Due to its large ensemble cast and the cost of filming primarily on location in Oahu, Hawaii, the series was one of the most expensive on television, with the pilot alone costing over $14 million. The fictional universe and mythology of Lost are expanded upon by a number of related media, most importantly, a series of short mini-episodes called Missing Pieces, and a 12-minute epilogue titled The New Man in Charge. Having achieved both wide acclaim and commercial success throughout its original run, Lost has been consistently ranked by critics as one of the greatest television dramas of all time.
The first season garnered an estimated average of 16 million viewers per episode on ABC. During its 6th and final season, the show averaged over 11 million US viewers per episode. Lost was the recipient of hundreds of industry award nominations throughout its run, and won numerous of these awards, including the Emmy Award for Outstanding Drama Series in 2005, Best American Import at the British Academy Television Awards in 2005, the Golden Globe Award for Best Drama in 2006, and a Screen Actors Guild Award for Outstanding Ensemble in a Drama Series.
Users of IMDb.com Pro gave Lost the highest average ranking for any television series during the first 10 years of that website's operation. Season 1. Season 1 begins with the aftermath of a plane crash, which leaves the surviving passengers of Oceanic Airlines Flight 815 on what seems to be an uninhabited tropical island. Jack Shepard, a doctor, becomes the leader.
Their survival is threatened by a number of mysterious entities, including polar bears, an unseen creature that roams the jungle, and the island's malevolent inhabitants known as the Others. They encounter a French woman named Danielle Rousseau, who was shipwrecked on the island 16 years before the main story and is desperate for news of a daughter named Alex. They also find a mysterious metal hatch buried in the ground. While 2 survivors, Locke and Boone, try to force the hatch open, 4 others, Michael, Jen, Walt, and Sawyer, attempt to leave on a raft that they have built. Meanwhile, flashbacks centered on individual survivors detail their lives prior to the plane crash. Season 2. Season 2 follows the growing conflict between the survivors and the Others, and continues the theme of the clash between faith and science, but while resolving old mysteries and posing new ones. The 4 survivors in the raft are ambushed by the Others, and they take Walt, Michael's son. The survivors are forced to return to the island, where they find the tail section survivors.
A power struggle between Jack and John Locke over control of the guns and medicine located in the hatch develops, resolved in "The Long Con" by Sawyer when he gains control of them. The hatch is revealed to be a research station built by the Dharma Initiative, a scientific research project that involved conducting experiments on the island decades earlier.
A man named Desmond Hume had been living in the hatch for 3 years, pushing a button every 108 minutes to prevent a catastrophic event from occurring. To recover his son, Michael betrays the survivors and Jack, Sawyer, and Kate are captured. Michael is given a boat and leaves the island with his son, while John destroys the computer in the hatch, and so an electromagnetic event shakes the island.
This causes the island to be detected in the exterior world, and it is revealed that a similar event caused the breakup of the plane. Season 3. In Season 3, the crash survivors learn more about the others and the long history on the mysterious island, along with the fate of the Dharma Initiative.
The leader of the others, Benjamin Linus, is introduced as well, and defections from both sides pave the way for conflict between the two. Time travel elements also begin to appear in the series, as Desmond is forced to turn the fail-safe key in the hatch to stop the electromagnetic event, and this sends his mind 8 years to the past.
When he returns to the present, he is able to see the future. Kate and Sawyer escape the others, while Jack stays after Ben promises that Jack will be able to leave the island in a submarine if he operates on Ben, who has cancer. Jack does, but the submarine is destroyed by John. Jack is left behind with Juliet, another, who also seeks to leave the island, while John joins the others.
A helicopter carrying Naomi crashes near the island. Naomi says her freighter, Kahana, is near, and was sent by Penelope Widmore, Desmond's ex-girlfriend. Desmond has a vision in which Charlie will drown after shutting down a signal that prevents communication with the exterior world. His vision comes true, but Charlie speaks with Penelope, who says she does not know any Naomi. Before drowning, Charlie writes on his hand, "Not Penny's boat," so Desmond can read it. Meanwhile, the survivors make contact with a rescue team aboard the freighter. In the season's finale, apparent flashbacks show a depressed Jack going to an unknown person's funeral. In the final scene, these are revealed to be flash-forwards, and Kate and Jack are revealed to have escaped the island. Jack, however, is desperate to go back.
Season 4. Season 4 focuses on the survivors dealing with the arrival of people from the freighter, who have been sent to the island to reclaim it from Benjamin. Flash forwards continue, in which it is seen how 6 survivors, dubbed the Oceanic Six, live their lives after escaping the island. The Oceanic Six are Jack, Kate, Hurley, Syed, Sun, and Aaron. In the present, 4 members of the freighter arrive and team up with the survivors to escape the island, since the people of the freighter have orders to kill everyone who stays.
Meanwhile, Ben travels with John to see Jacob, the island's leader. John enters his house, but finds Jack's dead father, Christian, who says he can speak on Jacob's behalf, and orders John to move the island. Ben takes John to an underground station in which time travel was researched.
John becomes the new leader of the others, while Ben moves the island by turning a giant frozen wheel, after which he is transported to the Sahara. The 6 survivors escape in a helicopter as they watch the island disappear, and are subsequently rescued by Penelope. In the season finale, it is revealed that the funeral Jack went to in the flash-forwards was that of John Locke. who had been seeking out the Oceanic Six in his efforts to convince them to return to the island. Season 5. Season 5 follows two timelines. The first timeline takes place on the island, where the survivors who are left behind erratically jump forward and backward through time. In one of these time periods, John speaks with Richard Alpert, one of the others, who says that, to save the island, he must bring everyone back. John goes to the same underground station Ben went to. After moving the wheel himself, John is transported to the Sahara in 2007, as the time shifts on the island stop and the survivors are stranded with the Dharma Initiative in 1974. In 2007, John contacts the Oceanic Six, but no one wants to return. The last one of the Oceanic Six he finds is a depressed Jack.
John tells Jack his father is alive on the island. This seriously affects Jack, and he begins taking flights, hoping to crash on the island again. Ben finds John and kills him. After John's death, the Oceanic Six are told to board the Ajira Airways Flight 316 to return to the island, and in order to go back, they have to take John Locke's body in the plane. They take the flight, but some land in 1977, in which they meet with the other survivors who are now part of the Dharma Initiative, and others land in 2007. The survivors in 1977 are told by Daniel Faraday that if they detonate a nuclear bomb at the hatch's construction site, the electromagnetic energy below it will be negated, and, thus, the hatch would never be built and, thus, the future could be changed. In 2007, John Locke apparently comes back to life. He instructs Richard Alpert to speak with a time-traveling John and tell him that he must bring everyone back to the island. After this, he goes to speak with Jacob. The season finale reveals that John Locke is still dead, and another entity has taken over his form just to make Ben kill Jacob. In 1977, Juliet detonates the fission core taken from the hydrogen bomb. Season 6. Season 6, the final, follows two timelines. In the first timeline, the survivors are sent to the present day, as the death of Jacob allows for his brother, the Man in Black, the human alter ego of the smoke monster, to take over the island. Having assumed the form of John Locke, the smoke monster seeks to escape the island and forces a final war between the forces of good and evil. The second timeline, called Flash Sideways narrative, follows the lives of the main characters in a setting where Oceanic 815 never crashed, though additional changes are revealed as other characters are shown living completely different lives than they did. In the final episodes, a flashback to the distant past shows the origins of the island's power and of the conflict between Jacob and the Man in Black, who were revealed to be twin brothers, with Jacob desperate to keep his brother from leaving the island after he is transmogrified by the power of the island and becomes the smoke monster. In this season, we finally discover Jacob's machinations. Everyone was pushed by fate and his manipulation to be on the Oceanic flight, as many of the members of the flight were deemed candidates by Jacob to be the new protector of the island after his passing. The Man in Black's mission, since the beginning of the series, kill all of the candidates, thereby allowing him to leave the island once and for all. The ghost of Jacob appears to the last of the surviving candidates, and Jack is appointed as the new protector. Jack catches up with the Man in Black, who says that he wants to go to the heart of the island to turn it off and, therefore, finally leave the island. They reach the place, but after doing this, the Man in Black becomes mortal. The Man in Black is killed by Kate, but Jack is seriously injured.
Hurley, one of the survivors, becomes the new caretaker of the island. Several of the survivors die in the conflict, or stay on the island, and the remaining escape in the Ajira plane once and for all. Jack returns to the heart of the island and turns it on again, saving it. Hurley, as the new protector, asks Ben to help him in his new job, which he agrees. After having saved the island, Jack dies peacefully in the same place in which he woke up when he arrived on the island.
The series finale reveals that the Flash Sideways timeline is actually a form of limbo in the afterlife, where some of the survivors and other characters from the island are reunited after having died. In the last scene, the survivors are all reunited in a church where they move on together.
Mythology and interpretations. Episodes of Lost include a number of mysterious elements ascribed to science fiction or supernatural phenomena. The creators of the series refer to these elements as composing the mythology of the series, and they formed the basis of fan speculation.
The show's mythological elements include a smoke monster that roams the island, a mysterious group of inhabitants whom the survivors called the Others, a scientific organization called the Dharma Initiative that placed several research stations on the island, a sequence of numbers that frequently appears in the lives of the characters in the past, present, and future, and personal connections between the characters of which they are often unaware.
At the heart of the series is a complex and cryptic storyline, which spawned numerous questions and discussions among viewers. Encouraged by Lost's writers and stars, who often interacted with fans online, viewers and TV critics alike took to widespread theorizing in an attempt to unravel the mysteries. Theories mainly concerned the nature of the island, the origins of the monster and the others, the meaning of the numbers, and the reasons for both the crash and the survival of some passengers. Several of the more common fan theories were discussed and rejected by the show's creators, the most common being that the survivors of Oceanic Flight 815 are dead and in purgatory.
Lindelof rejected speculation that spaceships or aliens influenced the events on the island, or that everything seen was a fictional reality taking place in someone's mind. Carlton Cuse dismissed the theory that the island was a reality TV show, and the castaways' unwitting housemates, and Lindelof many times refuted the theory that the monster was a nanobot cloud similar to the one featured in Michael Crichton's novel Prey.
Cast and characters. Of the 324 people on board Oceanic Flight 815, there are 70 initial survivors spread across the three sections of the plane crash. Although a large cast made Lost more expensive to produce, the writers benefited from added flexibility in story decisions. According to series executive producer Brian Burke, you can have more interactions between characters and create more diverse characters, more backstories, more love triangles. Lost was planned as a multicultural show, with an international cast.
The initial season had 14 regular speaking roles that received star billing. Matthew Fox played the protagonist, a troubled surgeon named Jack Shepherd. Evangeline Lilly portrayed fugitive Kate Austin. Jorge Garcia played Hugo Hurley Reyes, an unlucky lottery winner. Josh Holloway played a conman, James Sawyer Ford.
Ian Somerhalder played Boone Carlyle, chief operating officer of his mother's wedding business. Maggie Grace played his stepsister Shannon Rutherford, a former dance teacher. Harold Perrineau portrayed construction worker and aspiring artist Michael Dawson, while Malcolm David Kelly played his young son, Walt Lloyd.
Terry O'Quinn played the mysterious John Locke. Naveen Andrews portrayed former Iraqi Republican Guard Syed Jarrah. Emily de Ravin played a young Australian mother-to-be, Claire Littleton. Yoonjin Kim played Sun Hwa Kwon, the daughter of a powerful Korean businessman and mobster, with Daniel De Kim as her husband and father's enforcer Jin Soo Kwon.
Dominic Monaghan played English ex-rock star drug addict Charlie Pace. During the first 2 seasons, some characters were written out, while new characters with new stories were added. Boone Carlyle was written out near the end of Season 1, and Kelly became a guest star, making occasional appearances throughout Season 2 after Walt is captured by the others in the Season 1 finale.
Shannon's departure 8 episodes into Season 2 made way for newcomers Mr. Echo, a Nigerian fake Catholic priest and former militia leader played by Adewale Akinu-Oyegbajie. Ana Lucia Cortez, an airport TSA guard and former LAPD police officer played by Michelle Rodriguez. And Libby Smith, a purported clinical psychologist and formerly mentally ill woman portrayed by Cynthia Watrous. Ana Lucia and Libby were written out of the series toward the end of Season 2 after being shot by Michael, who then left the island along with his son. In Season 3, 2 actors were promoted from recurring to starring roles: Henry Ian Cusick as former Scottish soldier Desmond Hume, and Michael Emerson as the manipulative leader of the others, Ben Linus. In addition, 3 new actors joined the regular cast: Elizabeth Mitchell as fertility doctor and other Juliette Burke, and Keila Sanchez and Rodrigo Santoro as background survivor couple Nikki Fernandez and Paolo. Several characters died throughout the season. Echo was written out early on, when Akinu-Oyegbajie did not wish to continue on the show. Nikki and Paolo were buried alive mid-season after poor fan response, and Charlie was written out in the 3rd season finale. In Season 4, Harold Perrineau rejoined the main cast to reprise the role of Michael, now suicidal and on a desperate redemptive journey to atone for his previous crimes. Along with Perrineau, additional new actors: Jeremy Davies as Daniel Faraday, a nervous physicist who takes a scientific interest in the island; Ken Leung as Miles Straume, a sarcastic supposed ghost whisperer; and Rebecca Mader as Charlotte Staples Lewis, a hard-headed, undetermined anthropologist and successful academic, joined the cast. Michael was written out in the 4th season finale. Claire, who mysteriously disappears with her dead biological father near the end of the season, did not return as a series regular for the 5th season, but returned for the 6th and final season. In Season 5, no new characters joined the main cast, however. Several characters exited the show. Charlotte was written out early in the season in Episode 5, with Daniel being written out later in the antepenultimate episode. Season 6 saw several cast changes. Juliet was written out in the season premiere, while 3 previous recurring characters were upgraded to starring status. These included Nesta Carbonell as mysterious, ageless other Richard Alpert, Jeff Fahey as pilot Frank Lapidus, and Zalika Robinson as Ajira Airways Flight 316 survivor Alana Verdansky. Additionally, former cast members Ian Somerhalder, Dominic Monaghan, Rebecca Mader, Jeremy Davies, Elizabeth Mitchell, Maggie Grace, Michelle Rodriguez, Harold Perrineau, and Cynthia Watrous made return appearances. Numerous supporting characters have been given expansive and recurring appearances in the progressive storyline. Danielle Rousseau, a French member of an earlier scientific expedition to the island, first encountered as a voice recording in the pilot episode, appears throughout the series. She is searching for her daughter, who later turns up in the form of Alex Rousseau.
Alex has been kidnapped by Ben Linus and brought to the others where she was raised. Cindy, an oceanic flight attendant who first appeared in the pilot, survived the crash and, subsequently, became one of the others. In the second season, married couple Rose Henderson and Bernard Nadler, separated on opposite sides of the island, were featured in a flashback episode after being reunited.
Corporate magnate Charles Widmore has connections to both Ben and Desmond. Desmond is in love with Widmore's daughter Penelope, Penny, Widmore. The introduction of the others featured Tom, aka Mr. Friendly, and Ethan Rum, all of whom have been shown in both flashbacks and the ongoing story.
Jack's father Christian Shepherd has appeared in multiple flashbacks of various characters. In the third season, Naomi Dorrit, the team leader of a group hired by Whitmore to find Ben Linus, parachutes onto the island. One member of her team includes the ruthless mercenary Martin Keamy. In the finale episode, The End, recurring guest stars Sam Anderson, L. Scott Caldwell,
Francois Chow, Fionnuala Flanagan, Sonia Walger, and John Terry were credited under the starring rubric alongside the principal cast. The mysterious black smoke cloud-like entity, known as the Monster, appeared in human form during Season 5 and 6 as a middle-aged man dressed in black robes, who was played by Titus Welliver. And in Season 6, it appears in the form of John Locke, played by O'Quinn in a dual role.
His rival, Jacob, was played by Mark Pellegrino. Production. Lost was produced by ABC Studios, Bad Robot Productions, and Grass Skirt Productions. Throughout its run, the executive producers of the series were Damon Lindelof, J.J. Abrams, Brian Burke, Carlton Cuse, Jack Bender, Jeff Pinkner, Edward Kitsis, Adam Horowitz, Gene Higgins, and Elizabeth Sarnoff, with Lindelof and Cuse serving as showrunners. Conception. The series was conceived by Lloyd Brown, head of ABC at the time, while he was on vacation in Hawaii during 2003, and thought of a cross between the movie Castaway and the popular reality show Survivor. Brown later pitched his ideas at the network's gathering of executives at the Grand Californian Hotel in Anaheim, describing the concept as parts Castaway, Survivor, and Gilligan's Island, with a Lord of the Flies element. Many found the idea laughable, but Senior Vice President Tom Sherman saw potential and decided to order an initial script from Spelling Television. Spelling producer Ted Gold turned to writer Jeffrey Lieber, who presented a pitch to ABC in September 2003 titled Nowhere, which Sherman approved. Unhappy with the eventual script by Lieber and a subsequent rewrite, in January 2004, Brown contacted J. Abrams, who had developed the TV series Alias for ABC, to write a new pilot script. Lieber would later receive a story credit for the lost pilot and, subsequently, shared the created by credit with Abrams and Lindelof, after a request for arbitration at the Writers Guild of America. The one inviolable edict Brown made to Abrams was that the show's title must be Lost, having conceived of the title and being angry at its change to Nowhere by Lieber. Although initially hesitant, Abrams warmed to the idea on the condition that the series would have a supernatural angle to it, and if he had a writing partner. ABC executive Heather Caden sent him Damon Lindelof, who had long intended to meet Abrams as he wished to write for Alias. Together, Abrams and Lindelof created the series' style and characters, and also wrote a series Bible that conceived and detailed the major mythological ideas and plot points for an ideal 4 to 5 season run.
For the show, the novel idea of a story arc spanning several years was inspired by Babylon 5.
Because ABC felt that Alias was too serialized, Lindelof and Abrams assured the network in the Bible that the show would be self-contained. "We promise that each episode requires no knowledge of the episode that preceded it. There is no ultimate mystery, which requires solving."
While such statements contradicted their true plans, the ruse succeeded in persuading ABC to purchase the show. The game Myst, also set in a tropical island, was noted as an influence by Lindelof, as in its narrative, no one told you what the rules were. You just had to walk around and explore these environments, and gradually a story was told.
Abrams created the sound opening of the show and its title card being inspired by The Twilight Zone. He withdrew from production of Lost partway through the first season to direct Mission Impossible 3, leaving Lindelof and new executive producer Carlton Cuse to develop much of the overall mythology of the series themselves. However, Abrams briefly returned to help co-write the third season premiere, along with Lindelof. The development of the show was constrained by tight deadlines, as it had been commissioned late in the 2004 season's development cycle. Despite the short schedule, the creative team remained flexible enough to modify or create characters to fit actors they wished to cast. Lost's two-part pilot episode was the most expensive in the network's history, reportedly costing between $10 and $14 million, compared to the average cost of an hour-long pilot in 2005 of $4 million. The world premiere of the pilot episode was on July 24, 2004, at Comic-Con International in San Diego. ABC's parent company Disney fired Brown before Lost's broadcast debut, partly because of low ratings at the network and also because he had green-lighted such an expensive and risky project. The series debuted on September 22, 2004, becoming one of the biggest critical and commercial successes of the 2004 television season. Along with fellow new series Desperate Housewives and Grey's Anatomy, Lost helped to reverse the flagging fortunes of ABC, and its great success likely caused the network to ignore that the show almost immediately broke Lindelof and Abrams' promises to it regarding Lost's plots. Thank you for watching. Brought to you by WikiVD Documentaries. Please like and subscribe below. Please like and subscribe below.